Good to have you back. The show is still Rise and Shine Daily, Wednesday edition, reaching you live from the beautiful hills of Ibiakuran. Yes, the show continues with our guest in the house.
That's correct. We have a guest, Dr. Eddie Frank. He's a general medical practitioner with the Kwebum State Government, and he's also a full-time clinician. You're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's
good to have you again.
Thank you very much. Good to see you.
Thank you.
All right. Today, we're looking at depression.
Okay.
Basically. Okay, from your professional standpoint, how would you define depression?
Well, I would define it according to what World Health Organization
great, go ahead.
does, because that's like the best line. So they define depression as a common mental disorder. Now, this disorder affects mood, it affects appetite, it affects interest in stuff that one used to enjoy before. Yeah, it affects concentration, it even affects the strength of the individual. So according to World Health Organization too, they've identified that they're calling it common because it affects approximately 350 million people, and the number increases every year. And then about 1 million people die because of suicide related to depression, which corresponds to about 3,000 deaths per day. So that's why it's common. I mean, we didn't have such numbers for COVID. So
let me touch on that. You said the number increases.
Yes, yes.
Why do you think we still have increase?
Because with increase in technology, increase in awareness, self-awareness, people are becoming more depressed because the terms more competitive. We are more aware of what the next person is up to, because we are sharing on social media. So I feel you're doing better than me, whereas in real life you're not really doing better than me. So the numbers increase, and then people are now even aware of how to kill themselves or through the internet, whereas that wasn't the case. So that's sometimes the numbers are not even, the data is not even complete, because some people's deaths from depression or even the depressed states are not reported as much as it should be.
Okay, now, like you stated, according to the WHO, that we have about 264 million people who suffer depression in the world today. Now, let's differentiate something here.
Okay.
How can you determine that an illness is causing depression, or depression is causing an illness?
That's like talking about is it the hen that came first or the egg? So we're trying to tell. Sometimes you can't say, because the challenge with depression is if you're not close to the person, you may not really tell. And sometimes if you see someone in a medical setting or maybe in a hospital, I can't really tell if you're depressed, except maybe I'm interacting with you. Okay. Yes. Then sometimes people come with affects, depressed affects. So you think that maybe probably there's something going on, but that's just who they are. So there are some medical conditions actually that can cause depression, that can predispose someone to having depression, like diabetes, like people who have arthritis, people who have some heart diseases, people who have low levels of thyroid hormone. So this can predispose people, the sufferers, to having depression. And then also people can actually have depression from a number of other things that also predispose them to having these health conditions, because the number one cause is the stress. People are exposed to stressful conditions, and people respond differently. There's a popular quote that says that life is about 25% what happens to you and 75% how you react to it. Right. So you find out that this other person faces the same problem, comes out unscathed. The other person just have of this the same challenges, and is already coming down with depression, is already coming down with hypertension issues related to health.
Now, what is the difference? How do you draw a line between someone feeling bad and someone getting into depression? At what point do you think depression sets in?
Okay. Well, usually someone feels bad from various reasons. Like, I could feel bad that I was not able to make it to this interview, to this radio or TV program. I could just feel bad. But on the other way around, I could also feel depressed that I didn't make it. Now, the difference is in the symptoms, what I display. Now, that could affect me. The fact that I couldn't make it could affect me from eating, could affect me from going to work, could even affect me from engaging in social, like talking to people. As opposed, I just feel bad. Okay, maybe I'll make it, and then I do my normal activities. I'm engaged in normal activities. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm talking to people. Doesn't affect social, my social connection. So that's where we draw the line. And of course, sometimes depression. People look at depression and they, since it's a mental disorder, they think that if this person has depression, that person is really, really mental. No. sometimes it's just on the surface, and sometimes it's important that you feel depressed so you can bounce back.
Now, let me come in there. You're talking about people, typical examples now.
Yeah.
Why are people in self-denial when they are depressed? I mean, it's very common, like it's showing on you that you're depressed, but they're still in self-denial. As a doctor, you've seen cases. Now, what is the cause of this particular demonstration or attitude?
Well, I think generally people don't want to, like, for example, we are all four here, and I come off aloof or not really excited. You'll be worried now. So I don't want you thinking that something's wrong with me. So as opposed to if I come off aloof, I have you people concerned about me. Okay, what's wrong with him? Let's talk to him. Let's try to know what's wrong. So usually you don't have that social circle, people coming together to help people who display depression. And of course, I think nowadays we realize that sometimes you open up to people about your problems, it becomes a community thing, or even a social media, so people are trying to be very careful, because the trust level, even the Bible talked about it, that last days you're going to have increase in crime, increase in all sorts of things, which also affects love and trust.
It is risky to
it's very,
be
very
in
risky.
self-denial, just because you don't want your matter to be washed to the public or become a topic in the marketplace, but still, don't you think that's risky?
It is very risky, because even celebrities have come out to talk about the fact that they were depressed, like Lady Gaga, Katy Perry, Dwayne Johnson. These are people. Even the Buzz Aldrin, who went to the moon, first, I think one of the few people to land on the moon. These people have talked about the fact that they got depressed at some point in time. And Buzz Aldrin also talked about the fact that he said that, I think he didn't use the word depression, but what he insinuated was that depression runs in the family. Because I think the mother, the father, and then I think paternal grandfather too, they were all depressed, and then they had to kill themselves along the way. So when celebrities come out to talk about mental issues, they're trying to tell you that it cuts across whether you're poor, rich, middle class, and also that this can affect you. So I think that's also a motivation that you can talk about it and still be who you are. It doesn't take anything from you.
Okay, now let's jump right back into you. I'll come back to one of the first mentions, one of the things you said earlier. But first off, let's start here.
Okay.
Is depression hereditary?
Yes,
is this something
to some extent. Well, you can't, unlike maybe breast cancer, where you talk about this gene, that gene is responsible.
Right.
For depression, there's a lot that is still under study. So there's a conglomeration, or you talk about this gene and that gene could cause. There's really no particular gene that is isolated, that I know of, that is isolated, in which people can now study how to take care of that gene. Or maybe they study to an extent that if a karyotype is done and someone has that gene, it's now known, okay, that person could be predisposed to having depression.
Okay.
So we've not gotten to that stage yet.
Okay,
but it's hereditary.
Fine. Great. Let's go back to one of the first lines of conversation we had earlier. You said something about someone's lifestyle having to affect or cause him or her to, I don't know if to use the word predisposed to depression. Could you explain that vis-a-vis the fact that you also mentioned that someone could see somebody else's perceived success and go into depression? Let's talk about that. Let's talk around that first.
Yeah, you know, it sounds funny, but you know, a lot of people, this is December, a lot of people have gotten into debts, gotten into a lot of things, even gotten married. So out of social pressure, your friends are getting married, you're the only person left, or in your social circle. So when your married friends tend to hang out, they don't invite you. You know, those kind of stuff. It has some form of peer pressure. So that's some form of stress and anxiety, which could cause depression. So yeah, the friends one keeps, it's important in this day and age to keep friends who can actually also encourage you, someone that you can talk to. And then, so the question is around lifestyle and depression. Apart from social circle, you also have diets. There are some diets someone takes and they're not really happy with your life about. So one should.
And that sounds interesting.
Yeah, yeah, sure. So
okay. Let me come in there.
Okay.
Can you take us through the different dimensions of depression, because we know it has different angles?
Yes. Yeah, we have, like, people look at depression and they jump to the major one, which is major depression or clinical depression, where an individual is given that diagnosis that this person is clinically depressed. So which means that such a one could or is already harboring suicidal tendencies. Some people do attempt suicide when they have clinical depression, so it's important. Then we also have a depression that comes from, or we're talking about just response to whatever life challenges. We have depression that could come from before menses, as premenstrual depression. There are people who also feel depressed during labor and delivery, and then around that time puerperal depression, and sometimes called maternal blues, so or postpartum depression. Then we also have other dimensions. We have the one that continues, depression that it's continues, like then we have bipolar disorder, where an individual at some point is hyperactive, the next moment person is just on his or her own. So those different forms, those ones at some point for bipolar, it could actually be a character, a trait that someone displays. So it may not necessarily mean that a person, you know, has a clinical depression that needs constant care, because sometimes these ones who are depressed need to be admitted and then actually treated.
How about mania?
Mania is also bipolar, so sometimes someone could be manic, where there's hyperactivity. Yes, so it could also be, but you know, depression doesn't necessarily have to do with a kind of manic episode, because when you're manic, everybody knows you're in the place. That's not depression. Depression is people are enjoying, you're somewhere, you're just on your own, secluded. You're secluded from social situations.
Extremism. Depression is likened to extremism.
Yes.
On the extreme left, where you are extremely sad.
But would you?
Extreme high, where you're extremely hyperactive.
Would you be in a club and you're in a club and everyone's dancing? Would you classify people dancing as depressed? That's the point. You're right, but you know, we look at mania.
Yeah.
Well, to some extent, it's a mental issue.
Because I was going to get to that. How do you now distinguish that with, you know, complete madness?
Okay, no, so complete. We have psychotic disorders too, where when the complete madness thing is when the person loses affect. The person is not aware that the person is not behaving well. In fact, that's usually the line. We draw a line. Medical practitioners, when we're talking to somebody and you're trying to understand, does this person know that he has a problem? Once that's what's the word? I don't want to use affect again. Once that awareness is not there, then that's when the person has has crossed to the other side.
Studies have shown that women are more likely to, be prone to depression. Now, why so?
Okay.
That laugh. Most times,
the laugh is two pronged. First of all, this is one of the things women do better than men. Okay.
Really? You have to tell us more. Tell us more. Seriously. And I'm not smiling. Let me just
go ahead. First of all, depression has to do with mood, has to do with a lot of other things, strength, appetite, sleep, and all. So women generally tend to they tend to, the way women process things and the way men process things tend to be different. Women are more emotional. And here we are talking about a mental disorder. So a man can do stuff and it's not really mentally connected to whatever he's doing. You can eat, you can, have pleasure, and you're not really so connected. You can watch a match, you're so passionate, the next moment doesn't give a damn about the match. But a woman doesn't do that. He watches a movie, she could even cry with the movie, and then she goes about talking to the friend about that movie. So women are more emotional, and then and they expect things. Maybe a guy, I see that this other guy is better than me, and I say I can't help. I just give him, this guy is better than me, and I move ahead. But a woman, to some extent, why is she better than me? So this kind of stuff cause more depression, cause more expectations, and in the long run, the woman could be depressed, and so. I guess that's then also social expectations for the women is much more than that for the man. I mean, women are expected to behave better, you are expected to sit properly, you're expected to speak well, you're expected to look well despite what's happening to you, because if you don't do that. Yes.
All right, I'll put a pause to it since you guys are hammering.
Thank you for pausing.
Yes, when we return, Rise and Shine Wednesday edition continues. Stay with us.